going to look at the energy of the equinoxes, the solstices, and how they line up with the vessel of love. So you have the spring equinox on March 20th, which is with the 25 and the 46. On June 20th, you have the summer solstice with gates 15 and 10. Then on September 20th, you have the autumnal equinox with gates 46 and 25. And then on December 20th, you have the winter solstice with gates 10 and 15. So those four gates, the 25, 46, 15, 10, those are these gates of the vessel of love, which are identity center gates.
I love the fact that these are our turning points as it relates to, I would always thought the Sphinx would be the direction, but it comes in the middle of it all.
Mm-hmm.
The direction is in between the solstices and the equinox. I just find that very interesting. So I love that it is the vessel that holds down the four corners of the year.
Yeah, and that's
so fitting.
Yeah, and that relationship with the sun, they're like reflecting our relationship with the sun.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to keynote it real quick because I don't even know what it sounds like. So 25 is the universal love of all things, and we're going to need that because I have no idea what's going to grow out of those seeds, right? And then springtime, then summer, civilization, right? And you got all the throat gates there, and that's when we move into 15, right? 15 is in the that's funny, you got them written here, but I'm still looking into the clouds, pulling out of my rightness. That's inner vision. That's inner vision. You got them written there, but did you see that?
I did, totally did.
Yeah, I'm like, is the thing, it's what? So 15, yeah, and so 15 is we're gonna find the pattern that falls into a rhythm because we've got a whole growing season going. I'm just taking this straight back to food because this would have been our longest standing thing that we, is the deepest in our DNA. And then harvest time or nearer at harvest time when we get to the autumn one, the autumnal equinox. And this is a time for our bodies. Our bodies are getting ready for winter. This is a huge time. We're making babies. We're getting ready to have babies in spring and early summer now. And this is where all the spleen gates are, the whole everything to do with body. And then we get to the love of ourselves and just the love of our own behavior and the primary modeling gate 10, which says we've picked it all, we've eaten it all. I better have the right behavior in winter. I better know that I love me. My love of me is going to damn well ensure all of that. And there is nothing to harvest, and there is nothing to really do. In fact, it's a time of death before the rebirth of the final one. So there's so much symbology and mysticism in this. I mean, they've been praying to these four corners of the year for how long? The whole time since they were writing stuff on the walls and caves, right? So
yeah, you'd notice it for sure.
Yeah, and even before. So wicked significance all the way up and down with these 4 dates.
Absolutely. So here we have the summer solstice, which is June 20th or on the 21st. And so this lines up with human design gates 15 and 10. And so gate 15 is about modesty and extremes and finding that balancing point between the two. And then gate 10 is the behavior of self or treading. And so this time it's a concern with the welfare of humanity and bringing diversity into the flow. And so this time when we're at the most extreme, we have the most sun, right? Like there is an extreme there. That is when there's this awareness of everybody and how's everyone doing and bringing in this variety into the mix. And then I think it's also interesting as well because gate 15 is about modesty and extremes and making the extremes modest, but it's grounded in the behavior of self and treading. So it's also about behaving yourself and we needing to be grounded in correct behavior. Because if you're acting a fool, you're not going to be welcomed in and your extremes are not going to be welcomed in. So there's this balancing of being grounded in proper behavior, and then your quirks and extremes are more likely to be taken into the fold.
Yeah, and your capacity to do what 15 does, 15 takes other people's also, it takes other people's as quirks and strangenesses and extremenesses, and over time, it allows them to become modest. This is the great human mixing bowl. At the height of summer, when things are most extreme in the northern hemisphere, I mean, everyone's dressed as light as you're going to be dressed. You know, you want to put a fine point on that. And the fact of the matter is, our behavior is this treading is about our love of self. 10 is the part of the vessel of love that says, I do love myself in all its extreme nature. And 15, the love of humanity, which is this deep desire to be within the flow of all of the juice and the extremes of humanity. It's like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that too. Yeah, no, I can hang with that for a little while. This 15 will hang with anything for a little bit to find out what that extremeness is all about. So it just set these two going together and having 15 be what's shining in the sun at this time, meaning that driving, compelling force of the sun that is trying to come into form by smashing into gate 10 in the earth. But what's coming into form is this 15, this extremeness that picks up and assists. My love of myself allows me to anchor my love of humanity and all its extreme nature. You take all of humanity and put it in the same football stadium and ask everyone to, start sharing all your stuff. It's going to be extreme. It's going to be extreme. Everything will be represented there, including some of the folks that you probably got to kick out, right? Because they're just too extreme. That happens, but mostly it doesn't. And this is where that would be. So what could come into the village at the height of summer?
Mhm.
Something. Where could the new genetic material show up for the tribe? Right around now, because in a little while it's going to start making babies so that they can come out again right around springtime or a little after, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So all the symmetry just works out perfectly, in my opinion.
Neat. Any other thoughts on the summer solstice?
Live it up, because it's a beautiful cycle that's steadfast but not enduring.
Yeah, enjoy summer because the days are going to start to wane. In conclusion, the equinoxes and the solstices of the year line up with the gates of the vessel of love, the 25, the 46, the 15, and the 10. These times of year, in the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter, we're energetically programmed to realign our direction with love.
It's just and it's smack that simple, and energetically programmed to stay in line if we can, and this acts as these borders to keep reminding us, and we keep celebrating these times. Everyone knows these times. It's built into our genome.
It's really cool that we get to live in a time where we get to kind of peer behind the curtain with the beautiful knowledge that is human design. It is endlessly fascinating to me, the different angles that you can look at and link things up and view things and just perceive the energetics, and that it's just built in. It's just built into the programming that we realign with love, that it lines up with these times of what the sun is doing and how that guides us, how that's linked up. I just think it's really, really beautiful.
The gates of the vessel are a cool type of love, whereas all the stuff with the solar plex would be more hot, right? And juicy and just filled up with a lot more stuff. Notice the vessel doesn't concern itself with the emotional process. None of those gates touch anywhere into the emotional or even down into the energetic of the root. And it has one awareness, the body, the spleen, so it's so much weighted in all of that. It's got two motors, the ego and the sacral. So it's well energized, and it's staring at direction. It's just staring at it. It is the empowerment of the direction. And it just goes to prove love ends up being that fifth force. If you want to get scientific, that's what we got: the gravitational, electromagnetic, strong force, and weak force inside the atomic structures. And those are the four forces. We know about them. We've been playing with them ever since, forever. This is a fifth force. Einstein said it was a force. in his final paper, basically, he's just like that other little God particle force. I've been waiting to publish this, and he called it love, and he came up with an E equals MC squared for the dynamic called love, and he's like, it's a force, and it apparently is moving stuff in the universe. This his words, not mine, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
love,
it's just intense. It's intense, and it's not emotional. It's not mental either. It's not. It's none of those things. It's right out of the gut.
mhm.
Gut love. Spleen, because the spleen's it's got an awareness. Think of it like a type. Just think of it a configuration with a total awareness pointing at the spleen. That's it. No mental, no toy factory confusing us. No emotional stuff to have to wait on. We're not waiting on no wave. We're now love. 46, 25, 10. It's all now stuff. And 15's riding a wave right now. So, or not.
Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting because I feel like love has been so overused and it's made so soft, like love this, love that, love that, like it's kind of been a word that's been used so much it's like lost its oomph, where it's like love is a force, like love is a powerful force that's holding us all together. It's like what your parents deal with that you put them through growing up and they still love you, like what you would do for someone you care about, for a family member. It's like the mother that lifts the car off of the toddler. Love is this force and it is the glue that's holding us together. And even like imagining the body graph where we have the sphinx gates that are like giving us our direction, but in order to like give us that direction, we also need to be first. It's almost like the love is the glue, and so it's
And
like
the
split up.
empowerment of,
Yeah,
so much of it is coming off of a motor guided by a gut awareness.
yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah, and it just like it feels like we have these 4 times a year, these solstices, these equinoxes, where it's almost like we're like realigned and re-glued together because it's this force, but it's also this force that's like holding us together. And then the flip time of the 4 sphinx times of a year, which is then like giving us our direction. And it's almost like a heartbeat where it's like this love that's holding us together, and then this like sphinx direction that goes outward, and the love that holds us together, and that sphinx direction that goes outward. Like even that aspect of the identity center as a heart.
And the heart center is what fires up, and it's just that it's good that the heart center and the identity are the first two centers that show up because it's the first definition. So love of all things empowered by an ego and the will to do so. That's where we start in that quarter of initiation. It says an awful lot. Love is a force. It's an incredible force. It's a force like hope. When enough people's hope, they've been taking lots of polls recently, and people are hoping things are going to get better. There's new hope, sort of. I've seen some of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen Gallup things or this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's powerful. That's powerful. It'll move markets. It'll move this. It'll move everything. And by the way, if I can geek out for a second, it was about 10 years ago. I went about the business of mathematically proving love as a force, and I estimated how many calories a human body would burn up in an average day. And then I started counting up the population as it grew. And I said to myself, I just took a guess. How much of that time was spent because we loved something that made us then move and get to work or to do a thing and to get our kids someplace? And that's now that we have cars. I went back, 1,000 years or 500 years, I think, when the population would have been a lot less, and they were still doing it. Obviously, we've been doing it all along. And you add up all those calories, and you've got several quadrillion megajoules. Not quadrillion, not too many. It was like several billion megajoules of energy. That's a small sun for a little while. That's like a small sun for 15 minutes or something like that. That's a lot. Just human energy spent in the furtherance of strictly of loving something. Love's a force. I can prove it because it moved a lot of calories that turned into a lot of joules of energy that does a lot of work, like all the other forces would do when you just look at it in a system. So realize that sounds a little bit geeky, but it's there. It's true. So we did that, and we keep doing it.
Happy solstice, happy equinox.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Love your
realigning
neighbor.
love your neighbor as you would love
Yeah.
yourself. And yeah,
Yeah. Love yourself first.
love yourself, love your neighbor. And thank you for hanging out, and thank you for watching and liking and subscribing, and we'll catch you next time.
Great conversation. Catch you next time, everyone.